All right, welcome to Front Range Community College's OER in roughly 45 minutes. As one of the presentators, or one of the presenters of this breakout session, my name is Jay. I'm the campus librarian at Boulder County campus.
And I'm Victoria West-Pawl, Library Director, Westminster campus.
And I am Molly Thompson. I'm the Senior Librarian at the Larimer campus.
All right, so on the agenda for this presentation, we'll go over a few things. We'll go over what is OER, the importance of OER for faculty and students, Creative Commons, open access, the 5 R's, OER Commons, where to find OER content, and some good old-fashioned Q&A. So what is OER? Well, as you heard in our keynote, OER refers to the educational materials, including handouts, textbooks, and complete courses. OER brings flexibility that isn't found with traditional educational resources. OER uses open copyright licenses like Creative Commons, which we'll get into in just a little while. So why OER? Well, a couple different reasons. It saves costs for students. OER can offer drastic savings in the cost of education. OER grants access to more quality choices, and that means that there are more than 1,000 free online courses from leading universities that are open to the public. Students in low resource environments can enjoy the recorded lectures and videos tutorials developed by other institutions. OER helps prior learning and after learning. And by this, we mean that if an instructor opens his or her own course materials and shares them with the public, it greatly enhances opportunities for learning both for students who already took the course and prospective students. OER provides peace of mind for all users. OERs are free at the point of service. So you will not need to provide monetary compensation for using them. And other benefits to OER is that it enhances the school reputation, as well as that of the teachers, instructors, and researchers. And social responsibility, because it provides education for all. So in this slide, we have the impact of textbook costs on students. So this is from the past 5 school years, and it shows the comparison in cost of textbooks from public and state, public or private nonprofit institutions, and private for-profit institutions. And this is something that we can all relate to, high textbook prices, and this is a comparison. So when we look at and consider OER content, it is free at the point of service. Meanwhile, if we're looking at just book or ebook, the top picture will show just an example from VitalSource, and it'll show the option to rent a book at about $40 per semester. And depending on the book, sometimes those costs can be a little bit lower or a little bit higher. And on the bottom picture, something that we can all relate to, a picture and the scale of the cost of Netflix on a monthly basis. So we can see the differences between Netflix, which is something that most, if not all of us use, the cost of renting a book or ebook for a course, and the cost of OER, which is free. So the importance of OER for faculty and students. Students have access to the content immediately. Faculty can freely share knowledge and ideas. Students and faculty can download it, edit, and share materials. OER provides flexibility for both students and faculty, and they can engage in the 5 R's with the materials. And the 5 R's is something we'll get into in just a few minutes. Students can keep a copy of the resource forever. faculty can update content and fix errors. Students can improve the resources for the classes they are taking. And did I mention that it is free?
Okay, what is the Creative Commons? In 2002, Creative Commons, which is a nonprofit organization, was created with the goal of making creative works more freely available by creating free legal tools. With the internet, the chance to share, remix, reuse, and create materials became much, much easier. However, copyright restrictions made it much more difficult. But Creative Commons licenses, you can reuse and recreate most materials. It really just depends on what type of license the author chooses for their materials. So the Creative Commons license, and that's what you'll see that CC symbol with the circle around it, means Creative Commons anytime you see that on material. And the CC licenses lets creators easily change copyright terms from the default of all rights reserved to some rights reserved. However, the Creative Commons license is not an alternative to copyright. They work alongside copyright and then enable you to modify your copyright terms to the best terms to best suit your needs. There we go. Creative Commons has collaborated with intellectual property experts around the world to ensure that their licenses do work globally. All right, so you can see there are quite a few Creative Commons licenses to choose from. So I'm going to briefly go through each of them so you know which each of them mean and the symbols. And then you can also go to the website that we've listed at the bottom of this slide for more details on each of these licenses. So to tell if a work is an open educational resource, OER, it should be in either the public domain, which we'll get into in just a moment, or have one of the Creative Commons license below. So you'll see the first license in the middle there at the top of the column. This attribution has the CC logo for Creative Commons, and then the logo underneath it says by, and this license is saying that you must give credit to the creator. The license that's underneath this attribution is share alike. So that means you must license the modified materials under the identical terms, and then you also must give credit to the creator. The third one on the bottom here, this attribution, is non-commercial. That's what the NC stands for. Only non-commercial uses are permitted with this license, and you have to give credit to the creator. The top license over on the right side, this attribution means non-commercial share alike. So you also need to give credit to the creator as well with this particular license. The one under this attribution is no derivatives, and this means that there's no derivatives, no adaptations of the work are permitted. So this would not be considered an OER material if you see this license. The same with the one under this license. And this attribution is no commercial, no derivatives, and then you must give credit to the creator. So the same thing, if there's no derivatives, then this would not be considered OER material. All right, so deciding on what kind of Creative Commons license that you want to choose for your material, there is help on the Creative Commons website, and you'll see that at the very bottom of this slide, and it's called the License Chooser. And what it will do is ask you several questions, and then at the end, it will recommend a specific license that you can use for your material. And then you can, like I said, you can just go to that link that's listed on the slide, which we will send out later today. Molly will, so that you can look at all of the different URLs and the websites that we're going to use in our presentation today. All right, so public domain. This is another place where you can get open material. And what this means is that these works are not restricted by copyright. People are welcome to adapt, copy, or reuse the works that are in public domain. So works that entered public domain are when the creator's copyright expires. And that is usually after 70 years after the creator's death. So for example, the novel, The Great Gatsby, will enter the public domain at the end of 2020. So then with that particular material, then you could adapt, copy, or reuse the works of The Great Gatsby. All right, there's also open access materials, and these are a little bit different than the OER materials. Open access materials are free for you to use, but unless they have Creative Commons license, you cannot change the materials. You can use them for free, but you just can't reuse them. So once you start looking for material to use for your course, you can look for materials with Creative Commons license, and then you can also look for materials with open access materials, and then you can also look for materials with public domain. But you need to know which each of them, what type of license each of them have. And then an example of citing a Creative Commons source. You do need to know this because you do need to cite the material when you are using them for your courses or your materials for your courses. So if you're going to cite a Creative Commons resource, then this is one way to format this. Now, according to Mississippi State University libraries, you need to do the following. So you need to list the title with not italicized, but in quotation marks. And then for the author, you want to put the author's name, the first name first, and then the last name. And then you want to, you can also hyperlink if there's a website to this author. And then the source of where you found this material, and make sure that you hyperlink it to the original source where you found it. And then you want to put the license. So CC Creative Commons, and then this is just saying it's by, so you want to give credit to the author only, and then 2.0, which is where the license, which license is being used at the time.
And I just wanted to jump in really fast with the attribution. This is like the gold standard of attribution. So this is like what you kind of want to strive for, but it's not quite like if you're a student and you have to have your APA citation exactly right. You want to, do the best you can and make sure the creator is getting credit and you have the license in there, but if you don't have the quotation marks or whatever, nobody's gonna come after you. So that's kind of what you want to strive towards.
Right, exactly. Not everybody, there doesn't seem to be like one perfect way. These are cited differently, but this is just one way, and this was just a source from Mississippi. So. All right. And then the 5 R's of OER, this can help you remember what OER material can do. So retain, make, own, or produce copies of the materials, reuse, use content in different manners, such as study groups, classes, websites, blogs, etc. Revise, you can adapt or modify the content. For example, you can change or delete parts of a textbook. You can also remix, combine original content with other content to create something new, such as combine 2 psychology textbooks or distribute, which is freely share copies of the original, revisions, and remixes with your class, colleagues, and others.
Okay, so I am going to show you some places where you can find OER materials or open access materials. And then I have a list that looks like this that I will put in the chat. I forgot to copy the links. I'll do that towards the end of our presentation. But this is a list that is not an end-all list by any means, but it just can give you a idea of some different places where you can look for resources. So I have repositories, and then I also have a section for images. So I'm going to get out of the PowerPoint, and then let's look at some different sites, see what we can find. So I'm going to stop sharing that. I'm going to share my screen, and let's see. That. Okay, sorry, I'm getting there. Okay, can you see, it should say Openverse?
No, I can't see your slide.
No, you can't see that. Okay, hang on. I don't know why. Today is like my day to have issues with this. Okay, let's try this again. Can you see it now? Should say Openverse, and then it has.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, good. All right. I don't know what's going on today, but okay. So this is Openverse, and it used to have a different name, but this is a place where you can go to where you can find all kinds of images. In fact, they are saying they have 500 million images that they get from the internet, and then you can reuse these, and they all should have a CC license, or they should be in the public domain. So when you are creating OER, I think we can all agree that it takes a lot of time. So you have the written content of your OER, but it's also really important to have images because it gets kind of boring just having the text sometimes for students. But there's a lot of research that's been done where if you have like the right image to go along with the text, that people can learn the material better by having those images. So I think it's worthwhile to spend the time finding the images. But I have heard from instructors that sometimes the images, finding images for their OER is more challenging than actually creating the OER content, because of course there's images all over the place in the internet, but those are all under copyright. So unless they have like a CC license on them, or if they're in the public domain, or if you get permission, you can't use them due to copyright. So this is a place where you can go and hopefully find images that are free for you to use. So I'm going to do a search for early childhood education. And then, and of course, I could use different terms to get what I need. And so maybe this wouldn't be the best search, but we'll go with that. So I have over 3,000 images, and on the left, I can limit my search. So I might just want to have images that are in the public domain, because with the images in the public domain, I don't have to worry about including an attribution. So you do not have to have an attribution for public domain images. You may want to give the creator credit, but you do not have to do that. So sometimes just depending on the layout, it may not work as well to have to put the attribution in there, but it can be pretty small. So I think it also works to use the Creative Commons licenses. So then you can look and see, okay, which one do I want to use? And the ones that have no derivatives, as Victoria mentioned, are not OER. So you're going to want to stay away from those. The CC BY license is the easiest one to use. So I, a lot of times, will try to have instructors use the CC BY license just to make it easier for your overall OER once you're ready to publish it and have people use it. So if I want to limit to CC BY, I could do that. And then there's also some different ways to limit on the left, like you can limit by image type as well. So if you want photographs, illustrations, JPEGs, etc. So I can do that, and then let me move this back up. So let's say I'm going to limit by CC BY, and then I can look and see if I can find an image I want to use. So this one's cute. And then on the top left corner, you can see the CC BY license pops up. So I know that it has that license. And then here is the image. But the reason I really like this site is it will create the attribution for you. So as Victoria mentioned, when we looked at that attribution before, the gold standard for attributions is to have the title of the image, and not every image has a title, so it may not have one, but then you can link back to it. Who created the image? So the creator here is the University of the Fraser Valley. And so you could also link back to them. And then there is the license, a CC BY 2.0 license. So if you're one of those people who likes to read the fine print with the license, it would take you back to that and you can see what that license is all about. So you can copy that and place it under your image, which is really nice. Good way to save time. And then also they suggest that you go to the images website so you can verify for sure that it does have this license. So that's always maybe a good practice just to double check, especially if you are using it in your OER. So that is OpenVerse. And let's see, Victoria Shea, did I forget anything about that? Nope.
No.
Not that I can think of.
Nothing you can think of. Okay. Every time I do this, it seems like I forget something. So let's move on. We practiced this yesterday and I realized I completely forgot to practice this site. So we have the Library of Congress and they have free to use and reuse sets. So they have all kinds of different materials that you can use in here. And I think this site, I keep thinking this, that I should just really sit down and spend some time to see what they have because it looks like it's pretty robust. But you can get books here, manuscripts, maps, images, of course, photos, all sorts of different materials that you can use. And the great thing about the Library of Congress, we talked about the public domain, all of this is in the public domain. So you don't have to worry about attributions. It's either in the public domain or there's not a known copyright. And it seems like they're fairly certain about that. There's nothing certain ever in life. You can't always say 100% it doesn't have a copyright, but for the most part, I think you can feel pretty confident in using it in your OER. So you could do your search at the top if you wanted to, or they have these interesting sets here. So if you were wanting to, maybe you want to put horses, pictures of horses in your OER, they do have these sets that you could scan through. And a lot of them look like they're older, but this one looks like it's a digital photo from Wyoming. I could look at this and have that. And then you can download the image and different sizes for your OER. And then if you want to have some more information about it, because a lot of times it's probably like a nice practice to give the creator credit if you can figure out who it is. They have that information down here. So this is a fun site to take a look at, I think. So Library of Congress, and it's their free to use sets. All right, so we got that one. And then I'm going to move on to OER Commons. And hopefully everybody's seen that. So here for OER Commons, this is a site where you can find textbooks, of course, but you can also find a lot of other materials for your classes. So maybe you just need, you know, like a lab or an exercise or supplementary materials. Those are located on the site as well. And not only do they have that, but I think a lot of times we think of OER, we think of like college, but they have materials for preschool, for middle school, and so forth. So you can really kind of drill down with your search there. So I'm going to keep on going with my early childhood. Can't spell. Childhood education search. And then I'm going to go ahead and limit by community college. And then I'm going to do search. And then, so here I got my results. Again, I can kind of limit on the left. I have license types that you can take a look at, material types. So again, you can do labs, assessments, case studies, whatever you're interested in. And then they do have ratings. So ratings work really well for Amazon, and they also work well for OER. So sometimes you'll find materials here that have been rated. I don't know if you can put a lot of stock in those ratings or not, but here you got it. So we could take a look at, let's see which one I want to look at. That's material type. So let's say I was just going to look at this one. So this is a textbook. We can view the resource here. Nobody rated this textbook yet, but that's okay. And then we can get a description of it to see what we think when it was added to the collection, and the license too. So this one is, it's a CC BY license. So you need to give attribution, and you can't use it for commercial purposes. So that should be okay, I think, for most of us. So you have that one. There's that site, that's OER Commons. And then let's go ahead and look at Open Textbook Library. And you can tell from their name that they specialize in textbooks. Again, you can browse by subject, and the resources in here, the textbooks in here, for the most part, have been reviewed by faculty for quality and accuracy. So you can feel fairly good about the material, but again, you may need to revise it. You can put your own twist on it. So they have you can browse by subject, or I'm gonna keep on going with early childhood education. I think my typing gets worse as we go along. Okay. And then here you can see, as opposed to the OER Commons site that we were looking at, there are more reviews, which are are interesting. So if I was going to take, this is from the College of the Canyons, the publisher, but if I was going to take a look at safety, health, and nutrition in early childhood education, I could do that. And then here's the reviews. So I might want to take a look at those. And I think just like when you're looking on Amazon, sometimes, so I think it's sometimes more telling to look at the ratings that are in the middle rather than like the 5-star ratings or the 1-star ratings. But anyways, this textbook got pretty good ratings, but it might be interesting to see why this person did not give it 5 stars. And then you can see who rated the textbook, and you can learn a little bit about the author. And the copyright, so this is 2018. So I'm guessing with safety, health, and health, that may need to be updated a little bit. But then you could go to the different chapters and take a look. So we have that one. And then the last resource that I want to show you, and you may already know this, but this was new to me as of a couple months ago. You can find videos in YouTube that have Creative Commons licenses that you can use in your OER. So if I was an art teacher, which I really wish I could be, I would love to be able to draw well. That's something I'm working on, but I have a long ways to go. So you could put in your search terms at the top, and then you can filter right here, and then you can click on Creative Commons. And then you should get videos that you can use freely in your OER, and you can put your OER license on them. So if I was going to look at this one on painting, you can scroll down, and this was a little bit confusing to me because I'm like, well, where is the license? How do I know I can use it? I can buy a t-shirt, but I can't find the Creative Commons license. So if you look at the person who created it, a lot of times they'll do a paragraph about it and then show more. And then there's a license down here, so you can reuse it. So anyways, that may be something that you have known for a long time, but I just thought I would share that as well. So I'm going to stop sharing that. I would be interested to hear from all of you on any like sites or repositories that you have found useful for OER. If you've started getting into OER, or maybe you've already created something, but if you could put that in the chat, or you can just unmute yourself. So any sites that you really like for finding textbooks or images that are free and accessible? How about you, Victoria?
Right, I was just going to mention, one of the things that I like to go into are some of the free courses. There's a lot of different universities that offer these free courses that you can go in, and they also have Creative Commons license. So you can look at the courses, and there might be a chapter that you really like, let's say biology, and you really need an OER resource for biology on a specific, topic. Then you can go into all of these courses, and you can find this, information on this particular topic, and you can use it, and you can even change it up for your course. So that's one of the things that I really like are the open courses that have the Creative Commons.
Yeah, very nice.
And then we have chat.
So let's see, we have Cassie said, I didn't know about any until this semester. I've been using Google to find images. And actually Google's great as well, because you can limit to Creative Commons images in Google too. So I go there as well, but there's quite a few other ones too. And then I put the link to that document that I was talking about at the beginning in the chat. And then let's see, Joe said non-majors biology, we use OpenStax and YouTube videos. I'm not a big fan of the OpenStax book, however. This was designed by others. Okay, so do you mean like
other places that you can get open Creative Commons textbooks? And the list that Molly provided on one of the slides has a list of more Creative Commons textbooks, and also the free courses that I was telling you about as well. And you would be able to see what type of textbook they're using for the class or materials. And that's on one of those slides that Molly presented earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like Mary Lowe is a big one. Joe, did you mean that you don't like the textbook in OpenStax or just the site in general?
Sorry. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the OpenStax book itself. So I teach face-to-face class, and then I teach one online.
Mm-hmm.
The online one was already made.
Oh.
So somebody else decided to use the OpenStax book.
Okay. Oh, somebody else in the department decided. Yeah. Can you change any of it, like to fit what you like, or is that too much?
Now that I know some stuff, I will look at some other books. I joined late. I was in another session. So I'll have to, your links, I'll have to go and look at other things. I learned about
There's a lot of open material
in the other session.
Material on biology. So you should be able to find some sources or another textbook in biology. But definitely take a look at the list that Molly put together there. It has some different courses that you can take a look at.
Mm-hmm. And then on that list, I forgot to mention that the first site is the Front Range OER LibGuide, and there's quite a few resources on there as well. It's one of those things that I always need to update, and just doesn't seem to happen. It's like getting my house clean, just doesn't happen. So, but I always need to do it. So you could take a look at that as well. And that has some different.
Okay, great. Thank you.
But yeah, I think with biology, hopefully maybe you could kind of tweak it a little bit so you're happy with what you're using. Okay, thanks, Christy. Yeah, thanks for coming. And then Jonathan said, my biggest OER need right now is free contemporary literature samples, fiction poetry that is not yet in public domain. Okay. Literature samples. So is it for creative writing that you're using it for? Creative writing and literature. Okay.
Yeah, that one could be a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are some subjects that are not as readily available in public domain or with Creative Commons license. And I haven't found that many with the creative writing and literature.
Yeah, but Jonathan, if you would like us to take a look and see what we can find, we'd be happy to do that. Let me make sure I get your name down so remember it. Okay, Jonathan. Yeah, we'll reach out to you afterwards and see what we can find. I know Victoria does quite a bit of research finding OER. Montgomery. Okay, yeah, let me do that. I majored in creative writing, so it'll be interesting to me to see. Creative writing and literature. Okay. Any other questions? Does anybody have questions about like the Creative Commons licenses, or because that can get a little confusing, licensing your OER. Nope. Okay. So any other questions before we end? And then I think we have 3 more sessions at 11:15. So we have a group of front range instructors who've already created OER, and they'll kind of talk about the process. And I think that's helpful too, because you can hear from people who have actually done it and are aware of the time commitment and some of the challenges that go along with it. So we have that panel, and we have a session on if your OER is accessible, trying to make it accessible to everybody. And then we have one more. I can't remember what that other one is. Let me see. Panel. What is the other one? Oh, using and adapting and creating OER. Let's see. I'm not seeing that last one. Do you remember what it is? Shay, Victoria?
Not off the bat, no.
Okay.
And that is not the answer a librarian could ever give. I apologize, everyone. Please forgive me.
Yes. So we have, there should be 3, I believe. So there's one more, but hopefully you can hit one of those, and those start at 11:15. So you should have, again, a little bit of time to walk around. Thank you. Oh my gosh, I don't know. I forgot that. Thank you. Joe is on top of things. So it's the calculus one. So FRCC's OER Adventures in Calculus. And again,
sorry, Molly, that's actually the one that I am hosting. So
yes.
way to go, Shay. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, so Shay will be there if you happen to go to that one, but that one is very interested, and I know all of the presenters there are so enthusiastic about OER, so it's catchy. So hopefully you'll enjoy that one if you attend, and I guess that is it for us, because my voice is going for today. All right, thanks for coming. And let me know if you have any questions or if you need any materials. And have a great weekend.